All right, ladies and ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are live on both channels. Wrestling Revolution Keaton in the house here with me, and we're on Keaton's channel as well as NWF, and we're live, Keaton, for another great episode coming up here. And I got to say though, once again, Keaton, I like to always get your opinion, but I had to give your boy, the Canary Kid, a little bit of a tongue lashing again on the last Forward show because he's getting out of line with me. I don't know what to say.
What was this one about? I didn't see the last Forward.
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, he was. No, it's the usual. He just keeps ducking and dodging. Won't commit to any kind of match with me ever. And I had to point. I just wanted to point out that he got what he deserved when Nate Maddox, flattened him on the mat there because he turned his back. That's the cardinal rule. Keaton, when you get in the ring, I know you're training, but you never take your eyes off your opponent in that squared circle. And he found out the hard way. So I just had to give him had to rub that in with him a little bit. We have fun with it. We had a great guest too, and Hernandez was on there, so you have to check it out. But this on your show today, we got some great guests as well. Keaton, tell us a little bit about it. Who we got coming on?
Yeah, well, we've got the Tuned In project coming on with Cambo Cray, who done an absolutely incredible show on one of the CW's shows, Foyle Rumble. It was incredible.
Yeah, I went through it to get some footage for the watch along, and it looked like it was an amazing show. And the fans were engaged; they were all into it. It looked like a really good show, and a good opportunity for these guys that would never get an opportunity otherwise. And I think that's just a good thing, that this whole thing happened. So, and I'm really looking forward to learning about how it all became, how this, how it all started, how they got the idea to do this,
Definitely.
Should be a fascinating interview. So before we bring these guys in, we thought we'd just show you a quick little promo video of kind of what this was all about. It shows a little bit of the behind the scenes training footage that they were working on before the show, along with some narration to kind of describe it. And then it's actually the intro to this whole thing, which you guys can all check out. Like this is up on YouTube. Anybody can go watch this if you want to see this, and we'll point that out as we get into the interview. But let's watch this promo video quick, Keaton, and when we come out of the promo, it'll be with our guests. We'll be into the screen with our guests. So, all right, so let's take a look at this.
CAW and the Tuned In project. They came together, they asked one question. Is it possible to put together a pro wrestling event featuring people with learning and physical differences? Yeah, we sure as hell think it's possible. The place? The City Hotel of Derry, the home city of the Tuned In project. A group that uses the digital and creative arts, media and music to support people with learning disabilities to be different. And what brings all these forms of media together and helps people to embrace being different? Professional wrestling. Under the guidance of Cambo Cray, head coach of the CH4 Wrestling Academy, these individuals have been going through extensive training to put on a show never seen before. For 4 long hard months, they have been learning rolls, bumps, slams, suplexes and everything needed to step foot in the ring under those bright lights. What you are about to witness is not only CAW's biggest show to date, but one of the most unique pro wrestling shows ever seen by the people that prove that anything is possible. So watch them fly high, break barriers, and say yes we can. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Foyle Rumble!
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the City Hotel. We are right here in the heart of the city for this very special event.
All right, and that's just the intro to that whole thing that's already on YouTube that everybody can see. But here's our guests. We have Cambo Cray, and then Sean and PJ
Hello.
from the Tuned In Project. Welcome in, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, fascinating seeing all the work. I mean, I just can't imagine the work that went into this to prepare for this. It had to be a lot of work, but what an amazing thing. And so, Keaton, I'm going to hand it over to you so you can start up with the questions. I know you got a whole list of them. So, and then I'll just chime in with comments and stuff as we go along.
Okay, so Sean, what is the Tuned In project? How did it all come about?
The Tuned In project is basically a day opportunity based in Derry, Londonderry, for adults with learning difficulties and complex needs. Our focus is on media, arts, and music. And basically, I'm one of the media tutors here, so I make films and do a load of nonsense with my students and have the crack with them. And I'm a wrestling fan myself, and I just happened to ask my manager, Phil, what's the chances of doing a wrestling show with the students? And he did laugh, but then thought, see if he can put one together. I happen to have met Steve or Campbell, sorry, before because I was best man at my friend's wedding, and he is the biggest wrestling fan I know. And so I got Cambo and a crew together to do a stunt at his wedding during my speech. And then I just contacted him again about doing this show, and thankfully he was open to it and took on the challenge. It was some going, to be fair.
And was it all well received, or how did the parents react to, or management react to you guys putting on a wrestling show?
Oh, it was all good. Phil, who's the project manager here, was once I showed him the crack and that I've got actual wrestlers involved to do the training, and we weren't trying to do it off our own back, he was happy enough. We got the insurance. We got forms signed by the students and the parents, basically like, look, this is a wrestling show. Yes, we do rehearse it, but can you please sign this in case something goes wrong and someone hurts their toe or something? So, and with Stephen, Enda, and Bobby Blaze's training, we knew the limits of the students, and we didn't want to push them and make them do any hurricane ranas off the top rope or anything. So we stayed within the students' limits.
And at what point did you recruit Cambo Cray?
Straight away, as soon as Phil said, tell me if it can work, contacted Cambo, and he said yes instantly. So it was from the get-go. As soon as the yes was from Phil, it was straight away, and it was a very quick turnaround. Actually, I think it was probably around this time last year, maybe. I asked Cambo, and then we got the go-ahead. They start in January.
And Cambo, what was your thoughts when the Tuned In project, the idea of the Foyle Rumble, was first pitched to you?
I thought it was pretty. It was going to be a tall task when it was first pitched to me before Christmas. But then we had our first training session in January, which was a sneaky tryout day where we had all the tuned in students there, and we just did kind of general fun wrestling. But that was also where me and Ender were like, this guy would be more just suited for promos, but this guy could do a match, or this girl could do something. They have a good dynamic. We could do something here. They were showing a little bit of a character, and then pretty much from day one, I think I kind of had the show in my head from day one, from that first day, where I was like, oh, I can spot people, and I think this is where it could go. So I ran it by Sean's because he knew the students better than I did, and we kind of had a loose plan. But then I gotta give all the credit to the students. Day one, they were great. They were rough around the edges and all that because they've never done wrestling before, but everybody had full commitment to it. Nobody was joking around, half-assing it, not taking it serious. They all wanted it to be good. Me and Enda wanted it to be good, and it was great. It turned out great.
It's interesting how you did that, because when I was watching it, getting footage, I noticed that I could see how you did that. I could see how it was placed together. Certain guys were maybe just doing promos. Others were more involved in the actual wrestling. And I suppose you just have to gauge that based on what you have, right?
Yeah,
what you're working with.
I took it from Paul Heyman when he talked about ECW. You promote the strengths, you hide the weaknesses, and that's 100% what this show was.
And what was a typical training session like?
How long will it last for? Be about 4 or 5 hours, or was it 4 hours?
The training session?
Yeah.
It was all in. It was probably maybe 2.5 by the time they got their lunches and stuff, like once a week, every Tuesday, isn't it?
It was fairly intense. Like, it was proper training sessions. We started with a warm up, and I pushed them. I didn't go easy on them. I was like, we're jogging to show them how tough it is to be a wrestler. So we jogged not to their standards, to our standards. And credit to like PJ and a few others, they hung in with me and the other wrestlers. Then we did our rolls, we did our bumps, we took them through a proper training session. First few weeks, it was still evaluating them, seeing where people's strengths and weaknesses were. And then once we kind of figured that out, we started tailoring training towards their strengths and how to hide their weaknesses.
And how many training sessions did you guys have before you done the show?
I think in my head it was probably about 20 or less, you know. It was one a week.
20? That's crazy.
So one a week from January. So what, 4 Tuesdays? 4.5 months. I think it was less than 20.
Yeah, I think it was.
Which is an impressive turnaround.
It really is, yeah.
Now that it's done and it went well, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, we don't want to jinx ourselves before. Now we can talk about it.
So, guys, we got a question from Scenic Spots, one of our regular people here, and he says, how many students were involved?
In total, I think there was about 14 or 15 students, plus I roped in some staff members who like performing. So about 14 students, and Wally, Mags, Phil, Kevin, and about four staff members. I had behind the scenes trying to run the music.
Okay, and then with that, I'm going to follow up there. How many guys did you bring in, actual wrestlers to work with this as well?
How many, you think, Stephen?
It's near enough half and half. I think for pretty much every member, we probably had a wrestler or so. Like even with All Star and Mercer, there were 2 wrestlers, but you had Adam, Mags, Brian involved.
Yeah.
So I would say probably wrestlers chanting like a dozen, maybe. It wasn't like it was all wrestlers to like compensate, and like someone was just standing in the corner the whole match. It was a half and half effort between CAW and Tuned In.
Yeah.
Right. And then wait, one more, and then I'll let you loose. Michael says, Foyle Rumble was an excellent show. Well done to all involved. Top tier action and great stories. The main event was fantastic. So just a comment.
Thank you very much, Michael.
That's us, PJ.
And for Cambo, I imagine your first number paid, after the show. So how did you feel after the show when everything went into great success?
Like I couldn't put it into words. We had a documentary crew following us, and they went to get an interview, and I just couldn't get words to explain what it was. And I didn't think it would hit me as much as it did after the show. It was just the day of the show wasn't stressful. I wasn't really stressed, but I was like flat out, like agenting every single match. At one point, one of my good friends, Michael, he wrestles with TJ Charles. He appeared at the venue and he was like, "Why are you shirtless?" Like I was just in my jeans, and I was like, "Because I've been wrestling 4 matches, trying to agent all these matches and showing the guys how to do them." Like I was destroyed by the end of the show, but in the best way possible. It was an unreal feeling to get it done, and I think the reason I didn't have any words was because I couldn't imagine the end result being as good as it was. Like every box got ticked, and my main concern was for the tuned in people, that someone would have a bad segment. So I don't know how many segments we had. Let's say we had 12 segments on the show. That someone had that one bad segment, and that would have like crushed me by the end if there was even just one person disappointed. But I think Sean will back me up, and everybody like hit their marks, did exactly what they had to do, and every segment was a tick.
They did that. They were proper buzzing, and they still talk about it. This man here, especially.
Yep.
Speaking of that, here's one comment from TZS Videos. It was an amazing show. Had you wrestled before this training, PJ?
Have you wrestled this before? I have. This is my first time wrestling. But yeah, enjoyed. It was a good show.
PJ had never wrestled before. There was some, I can't remember the name of him, but there was some, I was alerted to a guy down south that did like a watch along on
OSW, I think.
OSW views, and I watched along with it to see what he was saying, and a lot of people commenting assumed PJ was a wrestler because he did that well at it, but that was his first ever wrestling match.
Yeah.
Which is quite impressive.
It was impressive.
Humble.
And Sean, were there any guys who hadn't weren't part of the show, but they were involved in lighting storylines and all?
No, I did have a couple try and run the lights at the side whenever the wrestlers were making their entrance. They turn off and on the lights. But what was good about that, everyone that was involved in the show was just on the show, but we had a lot of students. Obviously, the family came to watch it as well. And off the back of that show, some of the students that said no the first time because they were unsure came out going, if you do another show, I want to be on that. So we turned a few heads from people because you have a lot of people that don't. A lot of our students love wrestling. Some haven't a clue what it is, and then they witnessed it for the first time and are like, "I want to do that." So it was a positive all around.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about them doing loads of different jobs, how is it all coordinated?
Like
Cambo,
paper clips and sellotape, just about.
Cambo, and sure all the wrestlers set up the ring, and I just let Cambo run. I just didn't like it.
I'm going to give a shout out. I was going to say, even off the back of the last question that Sean was answering in terms of crew, I was going to give a shout out to the CAW crew because they knew I was going to be stressed on that day. And again, I'm not saying stress like it was a bad thing. Like, I love this job. But they knew I was going to be up to it. And they handled everything. So, like, our referees, our backstage people, runners, people just gathering jackets, holding curtains, fixing stuff when something fell down. Everyone in the CAW crew was unreal. So the day wouldn't have happened with them. But in terms of like organizing the day, it was just planning. It was plan, and just make sure everybody has their spots down. So like getting the script as tight as we could, making sure every member and wrestler, and it was kind of easier for some being a way for the tuned in members to know their parts, even though they weren't wrestlers. Because I got them every Tuesday to do the training, and we could go over their part and go over the part. And I play the parts of the other wrestlers. Aranda helps me with that, and plays the part of another wrestler. But when it came to other wrestlers, some of them live further away, we couldn't coordinate any kind of rehearsal time. So they were just there on the day and had to learn this match that was very precise off on the day. And that's like the roster was insane that day. There were such unreal talented people on it. So it just took a lot of planning, a lot of people listening, and then everyone just being ready to just keep the train going pretty much.
You mentioned interesting stuff there, like being stressed out a bit. And I know exactly what you're talking about. When you promote anything, not just, this particular show, but when you're promoting an event, there's just a lot of things going on. And you feel, when you're promoting it, you feel responsible for the whole thing. So it's like, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And people, you'd have to have done this to know what he meant by that. But I know exactly what you meant when you said that. And because you're like you said, you're worried about every single situation. And when you mentioned how if one person would have maybe made a mistake, it would have, and somebody was disappointed, that would have bothered you. And that's a promoter talking. That's the way you feel. And
it wasn't just my match that I was concerned about. It was everybody's segment. And credit to Sean though, like in the build up to the show, he took a bunch of stuff off my plate. So he did graphics, videos, all that, which sometimes I have to do as well for CAW, but I got to just focus on my favorite part, just the wrestling. Like I got to plan, write, and then agent all the matches. So all in all, it was super stressful, but one of the best shows I've ever done in terms of how much I enjoyed it.
And it sounds like you had good people like Sean to work with, and that always helps, because when you have somebody you can rely on, that they've got whatever taken care of, that's less off your plate. So
yeah.
And then one comment just came in here, Keaton, I'm going to bring in, and I'll hand it back to you again here. Wrestling Insider says, that must have been a daunting time planning such a massive event. Did local businesses, printers, or hotels, etc., support it?
They did. First of all, as well, with the backstage, I have to give a shout out as well. Johnny and Colleen, they're tuned on staff, and they did a lot of running about for us, and they were at every training and knew every segment of the show as well. So it's from the tuned in side of things, and they got costumes ready, and they just really looked after the students on the night of the show and the build up too. They were lethal, brilliant at it. Regarding this question, we got a few sponsors on from local businesses. Some of them were brilliant. Some people just sort of looked at me and didn't respond. They were like, "You're doing what?"
Is it boxing? That's what you always get.
Yeah. There's boxing, and I recruited for the graphics. I got a close friend who's a good graphic designer, so he did the posters that you see in this. No, Stephen, you did that. Who did that? No, he did that too. The logo behind me.
I don't think I did.
The hotels, the venue was a funny one to try and find. So in my head, I wanted, because it was a unique event that we've the Guildhall in Derry, historic building. But once they found out what it was, they were trying to charge us a lot of money, and then we would have had to hire a bar and bring in our own seating. And they weren't very supportive, to be fair about it, because they didn't know what it was. They did ask, "Was it boxing? Is it like boxing?" But no. So the City Hotel we went, and as soon as we asked them, they were very supportive. We did have a couple of back and forths about the ring placement,
Yeah.
which was fun because of the chandeliers, and I'll let Cambo continue with that story.
So they were very persistent that we put the ring, instead of setting it up with the ring as a square, they wanted the ring to be like a diamond, which would have made just filming the show and entrances a bit more awkward, and seat placements, because they thought it would fit in the chandeliers. So we made the decision on the day, and I think we were right. It has to go square. It will avoid more chandeliers if we go square, and it worked. It was definitely like the best decision. Yeah. And then first match, someone punched the chandelier in their entrance. Fists go up. And
so the chandeliers were that close to the ring then?
There was chandeliers all over. It was like a ballroom with a sort of low roof. So you put the ring in between kind of 4 chandeliers. But one guy was just so excited on his entrance, he just
one of them.
put his fist in the air, punched the chandelier. So
Noel McFury, his entrance, he went up, and before the first match even started, and he had it. Like, oh no.
Sean looked at me like backstage. He looked at me like, Noel just punched the chandelier, and I said to him, like, well, it's not going to get any worse now, is it? Like, the steel's broken. We may as well have fun.
Well, we'll keep going with the interview, guys. I'm just going to pull us into the watch along here so we can watch some footage as well. And Keaton, you can just keep going at it with the questions.
I absolutely love the promos, especially the one with King Kieran. Did they get outside support with it?
King Kiernan's one was just myself, Johnny, and Kiernan. We just went over. We were trying to find a fancy building in Derry, and there's one in Ardmore, and we literally knocked. No one answered, so we just rusted and wanted to make it a comedy effect with Johnny, like the King, getting into a tiny car, and everyone expected it to be some big limousine. So I always like to add on a bit of humour to anything I do with the students. So that was that, and Kieran was loving it too.
This guy with the garbage can, he's one of the students, right?
Yeah, that's Scrapyard Kieran.
Scrapyard Kieran.
Yeah.
He's going to town with the garbage can here, cleaning house.
We had to tell him, like, you hit with that trash can, do not hold back. And he was like, what if I heard it? And I was like, that's the point.
And PJ, what was it like being involved in this?
It was amazing, amazing show, to be fair. I've never... Wrestling is a good... I used to love wrestling when I was younger. Mine was The Rock. So obviously I wanted to be involved with it.
How did you finish it?
Find the training very hard and effective, but it was good.
And were you nervous on the night of the show?
Nope, I was excited.
I was going to call you out.
Nervous. Confident man.
Oren is so good.
Yeah, Oren's unreal. Oren's like, he's just unreal. Oren's just such a natural at wrestling. Look how, I don't know how he jumps so high.
And what was your name on the show?
Me, PJ Danger.
PJ Danger, good name. And who were you against in the match, and what happened in your match?
Cambo Cray. Obviously, I lost.
That's right.
So how did the names come? Like, did you guys come up with your own names, or were you helped to do with naming or gimmicks?
Yeah, Cambo had a day in house when he came to tune in and spoke to them about characters and building names, and we had a day just of the students thinking. And there was the odd day where we couldn't train. There was actually a fire in the gymnastics place that knocked us out for 2 weeks. So now that I think on that, that's less than 15 training days, sorry.
Yeah, physical ones.
Fire. I would do days with them where we would work through their names, and like tagging under the ring now is Shane, but he's called Hades Havoc. He loves Greek mythology and wanted to be a God of War type character. So it was all based off their personalities. Like Kieran, as you say, jokingly for years, people call him the King of Ardmore because everybody knows him.
Aye.
Just want to put over Shane, isn't it? Is Sean here?
Shane in the back
Yeah.
is he's Havoc guy.
Like just how good they did on the night. Like slam, fire up the crowd, slam, fire crowd. There's wrestlers who wrestle for 6 months and don't know how to do that, and they were told it, but everyone just committed to the night and just let themselves be taken over by the emotion.
He does, eh?
No, that was a good series right there. I picked up on that. Yeah, that they had with the two of them. Mm-hmm.
And PJ, what was it like having Cambo as a coach?
It was amazing. All the best coach I've ever trained with. All the great wrestlers I've ever seen.
Right.
Okay, like that, The Rock.
The Rock couldn't train you like that, PJ.
Yeah.
He'd be too busy looking at himself in the mirror.
Exactly.
It was good actually. It was fun seeing PJ get beat up by Campbell. You enjoyed it?
Keaton, this had to be in Sage's early stages, right? Like
What is it?
Well, I see Sage in there here, and this had to be like fairly soon after he started, right?
Yeah, well, Sage is quite new to the wrestling, to be fair, but yeah, I think it was quite close to when he started.
I'm trying to think. I think October, I think, might have been the first time I used Sage on a show, and then this was May, and I think the October show would have been like his second, third match or something. So about 6 months ish would have been this tuned in show.
I didn't know that there, yeah, because I couldn't tell. This is the big request I had for this match when me and Campbell were going through what we're going to do. And I was like, hardcore match and thumbtacks. And then Oren thanked me at the end, going, "You've made my dream come true." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "You get done the thumbtacks." I was like, "Oh."
The amount of times that I had to turn down thumbtack requests and things like that, and I was like, "We are not doing it. We're not doing it." And then Sean mentioned it, and this was like one of our first kind of like adult shows. There's kids there, but it's a bit more, a bit more of an adult theme to it. And so I went to Oren and Pyro, and I said, "You know what? You can do thumbtacks," and they were delighted.
Yeah. I've never seen men so happy picking thumbtacks out of their backs, arms, backstage, in a way.
Gosh.
And I first discovered that even just this wrestling show when I was watching BBC News and it came on. How did you get that happening? Getting the article BBC News.
Because it was such a unique show, and I seen the hard work that was going into it by everybody involved, from the students, us as a staff, and Cambo, Enda, and Bobby. I wanted to put the word out there because I sort of see the same things happening over and over, like a charity night with a disco, and because we're a charity as well, tuned in as a charity, and like bag packing. We like to try and think outside of the box, and I just was like, right, I'm going to promote this as much as I can, and I just contacted the BBC and Kieran Turish. And luckily, they liked the story behind it, and we got it on. I think I got it on the Journal and BBC News, just as many places as possible, because the students were doing such good work. I think they deserve to get recognised for all their efforts for such a unique show.
And after, did any of the students get asked for autographs or pictures?
Yes, a couple.
I know because my nephew and niece was at the show as well, and during the break I got called over and they're like, can we meet Sergeant Slam? I want a photo with Sergeant Slam. And I was like, okay, I'll go get him. So on the night they were proper A-list celebrities, and of course every single one of them were loving it.
That was the two camouflage guys, right?
Sorry?
Yeah.
That was the two camouflage guys, right, on the show?
Oh, yeah.
Sergeant Slam, yeah.
So they were part of Slam Security.
Yeah.
So that's Ryan. He, on the break times in Chindan, he's always on his phone watching wrestling. So as soon as I mentioned the show, he still talks about it and wants to beat you up, Cambo. Like,
No.
once a week.
After this show, Sean sent me a nice video with all the Tune In members, like going, "Just want to thank you for Cambo for the show. Thank you, Cambo, for the training." And then there's Ryan be like, "Cambo, I'm going to beat you for the belt at the next show." Starts challenging me in a match.
So that was Slam Security. So again, because Ryan's a powerhouse, and we just thought I would like to use him as much as possible that made sense. throughout the night because he brings a big following with him as well, and I swear his whole family were in the crowd at one stage. Behind the camera, where the camera is now, actually.
Well, here's a comment from Michael. You guys, how did you develop the new characters for the tuned in students? And I guess we talked about it a little bit. You had a day where you had like character, let them think about their characters and stuff, right?
Yeah, and so what was it? What did you call that again, Cambo? I can't remember. It was like
I do like I have a seminar, character development seminar. So it pretty much just takes it from the ground up of just learning like what your first like your emotions are, but then your character traits and little like costume things or walks or stance and things like that will help your character stick out and be more unique. So we just did that one day with the tuned in guys when we couldn't do physical training. We did a few exercises where they had to just come up for random. I think I gave them like titles, and I was like, "You're a disgruntled police officer. Give me a backstory. You're a spaceman. Give me a backstory." And they all did great at it. So some of them, like King Kieran, already had nicknames. So we just went off that and we either made a character out of it, or we seen where there was gaps in the show, and we were like, "Oh, we need a bad guy character, or we need someone to do a promo," and then we found different roles for different people.
I mean, did you have any trouble? I know back in our day, we had always some of the kids knew what they wanted to do. Others had no clue. Did you have anybody that just needed help with their character development?
See, to be honest, not really. Because once you know, like wrestling, the best characters are yourself turned up to 11. A lot of the characters, as I say, they're just extensions of himself. Like PJ Danger, that was his YouTube channel already. So he had a YouTube channel, and we just like, well, that's your name. You already have a rap song he made. I was like, well, you're already sorted. You have your name, you have your theme song. The girls that run it, Sarah, is exactly what she is in real life. She comes out, she doesn't speak. Can be a wee bit grumpy. So we just played on all their real life attitudes, basically.
Yeah.
To be honest, like not many of them were actually shy. Some were a little hesitant, some were unsure, but it wasn't that hard to like coax a performer out of them.
Yeah.
Like they all had a personality that you could do something with.
Like the Red Lord, Adam, he loves monologues and talking like he's from the dark side of anywhere. And straight away we're like, well, the Red Lord, you want to call yourself the Red Lord? Well, you're going to be from wherever you want to be from. And it's basically Adam, but he just has a mask on him.
His promo voice was the real way he talked.
Yeah. So, and Kieran there, he's a gentle giant, to be fair. Scrapyard Kieran. But he loves boxing. He loves all combat sports. So we were just like, well, you're just going to be a fighter. And came up with Scrapyard. We're like, right, perfect. What's wrong with that?
But that's an example of like kind of where the character fit into the slot that we had. So we knew we were going to do a hardcore match because Sean wanted thumbtacks and whatnot. So we were like, so Kieran had a couple of different gimmicks, but one was Scrapyard Kieran. And I was like, well, we give him a trash can. That's the hardcore bit. That's what he can do. So again, like promote the strengths, hide the weaknesses. It's like it's pretty easy just to swing a trash can, and he can have a good part in the hardcore match by doing that.
Here comes the thumbtacks.
And PJ, how did you feel after the show?
Amazing.
It's the happiest I've seen PJ ever, I think. And he immediately wanted to do another match with anybody he could that would take him, but we had to take the ring off. So, but he was on a high. I've never seen him as happy than the whole period of the training and the show.
Yep.
Do you agree?
I agree 100%.
By no shocker that Crix is involved in thumbtacks, huh?
Here we go.
And they just do that last week, Keaton.
What is it?
Didn't Crix just have another thumbtack issue incident last week at the house show? Yeah.
He did against Tofton. That was a great match.
Yeah.
See, a lot of the crowd were people have never seen a wrestling show before, so some of them were like, "What's that? What's that they're using?" And then the whispers like, "It's thumbtacks," and they're like, "What? What? Why are they doing that for?" So,
there's a great photo of Oren that we got backstage where he's just like this, and he's got thumbtacks sticking directly into his pinky finger.
Jesus.
Oh.
But I just like the fact I'm the opposite of the promoters of getting involved. I was like, I do the thumbtacks and the tibbles, but I'm not demonstrating it. Go ahead.
Are there any plans for another Foyle Rumble?
There is, we're hoping to do one next year, 2025. Me and Cambo need to discuss it further, but I would love to do another one, as would all the students and more. So, but we have to make it bigger and better. And I've got some ideas that Cambo will probably say, no, we're not doing that. But
More thumbtacks.
more thumbtacks, 2 briefcases.
So maybe try to make it like a yearly thing, like a yearly event, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have so much going on in here, I don't know if we could do it yearly, but
Probably every 2
we'll
years.
see. Maybe every 2. I would love to do it every year, but just based off what we did for the first one, I was stressed and tired after the 5 months, and then because it pulls away a lot of resources from other shooters in here, so you're like,
I don't think Keaton asked this one, but Darren, Keaton's dad, wants to know how many tickets were sold. Was it sold out?
yeah, we sold. I think in total it was around 200
250.
between 230 and 250, but it was sold out.
Phil got more tickets then, like 30 more.
There was a few that came up on the day on the door, and we had to make extra chair room for them. We're like, we're putting them in. Well, don't be telling the City Hotel. Hello, City Hotel. We your fire code, but
And then Michael's got another comment. All the tuned-in students had unique Titan tribute videos shot for the event. This really added to the presentation. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah, that was me and the students just spacing out some time and trying to fit the videos around their characters. So it was a lot of just me going, right, what do we need you for? Right, Kieran, we'll go find somewhere that looks like a palace. PJ, you're a fighter. We went to a boxing gym. Some of them were just green screen and pulling faces. But I did my best because I think that's a big part of a wrestling show is the entrance themes and seeing the Titantrons. But I didn't want it to do like how the current trend is, where just people's names are on it. I like the old school one, where there was footage of them doing things. And I was saying the next version of the Titantrons will actually have them footage wrestling. So that's a plus. Hey!
Okay, so now we're going to the next match, everybody. This is the match we've been talking about.
That's the promo thing. Oh, no, that's the match.
That's the match. Then. Let's just re-highlight it. A funny thing in this one was PJ was so excited he forgot his cue.
It was the crew's fault backstage. They didn't know. They didn't know there was a third queue for him. They were just holding the curtain to let him out.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
You know, PJ, so this is your first match. Now, everybody that usually has their first match, they're full of butterflies. Like, they're nervous. Did you have any of that going on before you stepped out?
What was that? Nope, I was excited.
You're excited for it?
Very excited, like, couldn't wait to get out there.
So you were ready for it then?
Yep.
It's hard to tell in the video footage, but he had different color contact lenses for his eyes.
Aye.
Which he really, really wanted, and so he had those on. What else? He did do painted your eyes or something?
Aye, black and in the mask.
And that was Colleen did all that, did the makeup and stuff backstage.
And I believe he was raising money to go to Disneyland for the show.
Oh, aye.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you going to say, Keaton?
Sorry, how was that?
That was brilliant.
Disney was good, but so we do a trip. Every 2 years, we would take them to Disney and we try and raise as much money as we can because we have to pay for the students and the equipment and all that.
Yep.
So whenever we're going, each shooter that goes, so I was going, we try and do our own fundraiser. A couple of years ago, I did like a football tournament, and then this year, that's what I decided on was the wrestling show, and it was brilliant. We raised
a couple of loads of money. Yeah.
Good bit of money, like, and it was just towards. That's why a lot of people came out. We had a raffle, and they're like, "Oh, it's for Disney as well," so they got a brilliant show out of it, along with raising money for a good cause. And we went to Disney in September. PJ was there, speaking French the whole time, talking to me in French. I don't know French. Like, don't speak something.
Uh, the show incroyable. Oui, means the show was great.
The show was great. So everywhere we went in France, PJ was trying to talk French to French natives. And how'd you get on?
Very well.
Say it in French.
Très bien, very well.
Well, it was good. The trip was amazing.
We were in Paris too.
We went on to Paris, yeah. And we fed pigeons.
And PJ, how do you find your time in Disneyland?
Amazing.
He loves French. He learned French for weeks leading up to it. So much so that he changed his whole phone to French in the sentence. And his phone was in French for the whole trip. But I loved it, didn't he?
What sort of feedback did you get after the show?
A lot of feedbacks, like they were enjoying the show. A lot of people were talking about it when I came out.
You're impressed, weren't they?
Yeah.
Me personally, everyone had amazing things to say about it. There's a guy up the front row who I know many years, never been to a wrestling show. You'll see him now. Well, you can't really see him.
Nice.
He was ranting and raving about it, hey, as was his son. There were not one bad thing to say about it, which is good. Because Cambo, you said it as well. Like, we wanted to put on a real wrestling show, not like, oh, we're doing a wrestling show and there's adults with learning difficulties and complex needs. Isn't that cute and lovely?
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to put on a show. It's like, oh, that's a real proper show.
Yeah, we don't want any pity points for this. We want people to be impressed that it's an actual wrestling show and it's not just polite applause. It's like, well, they tried their best.
Yeah.
And not only that, but people that have special needs and stuff, they just want to be treated like normal people. They don't want to be looked at as as something special. And so to be able to have a show that is just a regular wrestling show, and that's the theme, that's the way to do it. You don't want to highlight the fact that you have, autistic or special needs. It's irrelevant,
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, because even some of the staff were like, well, what's going to happen? And I was like, I'm not telling you anything. Just come to the show and see. And I think everyone was expecting, oh, the students are going to win. No, like here, PJ gets his ass kicked, and he took the chops, didn't he? And you were all red. And
credit PJ. Like, I said this from the start with all the tuned in people, and I was like, hit each other. We're going to bump properly. I'm going to hit you guys. Like, no one was stiff or anything like that, but PJ did not get me any lighter than I would be with anyone else that I would wrestle, like any actual pro wrestlers. Like, all the chops were as hard as I would chop, all the slams were as hard, all my kicks were the same. Like, so PJ got me at my normal. So, like, there was no going easy on them, and they didn't complain one bit.
PJ's a natural at interacting with the crowd here for being the first time in the ring.
Yeah, you're a confident man, aren't you?
Yep.
No matter what he does, he never seems nervous. Apart from that one time where he genuinely was afraid to go up the top rope, though.
Yeah, fear of heights.
That was the only fear I've ever seen in him.
Did any of the students continue wrestling after the show?
No.
No, once the show was over, that was the end of that project. But as I say, they keep talking about it.
They want to do it again.
I have to answer at least 10 questions. 7 of them are from him every week about the next show, and just like, yeah, we're in this starting phase. It will happen again because it was so popular.
It was.
And we have to give the students what they want to do. That's what the Tune In Project's all about. So
exactly.
We're very student led. So next year we'll do another Foyle Rumble 2.
So, like, what did the ticket prices go for? Was it one general admission, or was there like a kid's price versus an adult price?
There was, each ticket was £15. And we did a family ticket of 4 for 50. Did I do the math right in that?
Okay.
Yeah. Family ticket of 4 for 50. All the money went towards Disney, and also like we had to pay for the rental of the room, and
Aye.
as you
Sure.
can see, we went for the banners around the side.
And I imagine the insurance policy as well.
Yeah, we had to cover all that, so
Yeah.
a lot of it went to renting equipment and
And
whatnot.
did you guys have like a concessions? Was there any other revenue generator, like a concessions or anything like that going on?
Yeah, we did a raffle as well.
A raffle?
Out the
Yeah.
front. You'll not see it on this footage, but we had a merch table set up, 2 tables, a CAW merch table and a tuned in merch table where we sold T-shirts and posters.
Sure.
And I'm sure some of your students had challenges to overcome. How did you complex their needs?
Oh well, Cambo, do you want to talk about Brian?
Where do we start? Yeah, so Brian is fully blind, so can't see at all. So we had to figure out how to put him in the show, and then figure out a certain way to train him. So I had to give him cues, like, so let's say we were doing like a wrist lock, and I wanted him to counter. You know, you teach him, like, you give him a pat or a squeeze somewhere, like the Iggy, and then he'll know how to counter. And then we just had to figure out his role on the show, so we had to figure out the best way to make it look natural for him. I pretty much ripped off Jake the Snake Roberts and Rick Martel's blindfold match. So it was a lot of like him pointing and the crowd booing and then cheering when he's finally pointing at Chris Mercer. And then like showing him, like, you know, you got to feel for his face, because then you'll know where to grab his neck, and feel for his chest, and then you'll find his armpit. You're going to be a big deal throw there. But you got to make sure you scream as well. And then we had the whole idea that Sean told me he has his walking stick is like important to him. Obviously it's important to a blind guy, but you know, he's got it nicknamed. So we're like, right, well, we'll give him a prop walking stick, we'll have Chris Mercer break it, and then we'll replace it. The good guy will give him a kendo stick then, so he uses the kendo stick to find Mercer, and then whacks I was almost for it. He whacks Mercer a lot with the kendo stick.
Yeah. He gets him in the head at one point, I think.
Yeah, he clocks him right in the head. But Mercer took it like a champ. So that was the whole show. But Brian was probably the best example of trying to just figure out how to overcome people's challenges. But there's always a way. That's the beauty of wrestling. Like, it's so adaptable that there's a room for everybody in wrestling, because you can always do something and contribute.
Yeah, because his hearing's so sensitive as well. We were just going through the segments in the training center, but it's completely different with a crowd going mad. And with Brian, he was brilliant. I think that's one of my favorite things I've ever been involved in. When me and Cambo had like a writing day, and the more we got onto that segment, I was really excited about it, but nervous. But on the night, I think it went perfectly. It was a real good segment from start to finish, I think.
Like, you'll see there in that video, like, I just buckle bombed PJ and then like chop him. Like I was saying earlier, I didn't go easy on him. Like, buckle bomb can be a risky move. There he is, just taking those chops. But you know, I told him, I was like, PJ, the part of this story now is where you have to show your fighting spirit. That, like, it looks like you're going down, but you're triumphantly trying to fight back. I have to hit you hard. And PJ was like, yep, no problem. And just took the chops.
You did, PJ. A lot of people, that, because the staff as well, some of them were there, were like, oh my God, is he really getting hit? And I was all, yes. He is.
And Cambo, I know the wrestling show took place in Balmoral Hotel, wasn't it?
City Hotel.
City Hotel.
City Hotel, yeah.
But where did
What the hell?
He's back.
Oh, PJ took the rope.
I'm channeling you.
That was great. Credit to Haley as well, the referee, because she had to learn this match as well. Like, she had a lot to do on the show, but she learned this.
Oh,
match.
that's nice.
So
Nice little walking on the ropes there.
Yeah. So, like, if I wasn't close to PJ, she was there giving the cues. You can see her kind of coming in there.
I'm just reminding you what you had to do, isn't it?
Yep.
But even with these tuned in people, like, PJ's a wrestling fan, but he doesn't know every single wrestling move name, which, you know, no harm. But a lot of them didn't really follow wrestling, so you're trying to teach them, you know, oh, you got to do a Beal throw, and they have no idea what a Beal throw is. So for PJ there, he had to do a head scissors at one point, so we just nicknamed it the spinny thing, and then that's all I would say to him, it's like spinny thing. And then he'd go, oh yeah, now I know.
Yeah.
and in wrestling, you can take in loads of different wrestlers. Some wrestlers refuse to go over, and some are okay with going over. Did any of the students refuse to lose?
Um, I think at the very start, as soon as they found out they were doing a wrestling show, I'm pretty sure all of them were like, "I am going to be champion. I am winning the belt." And they're like, "Well, calm down." But once they learned their roles, they were happy enough. They were like, "Oh, okay." But as I mentioned earlier, a lot of them just see Cambo with the belt and think, "I'm going to beat him up the next time I see him." But they were
But
all,
they're wrong.
yeah, they were all happy with the rules. That was a last minute decision there, wasn't it, Cambo?
What?
It was you going through the.
What's the table? Yeah, I was again credit to Haley. This was her idea. For the night before, I was like, this was my quote. I was like, the match needs juice, and I know juice is the wrestling term for blood, but I meant like it just needed a little bit more, and I couldn't think of what to do. I couldn't think of it, and then I was like, oh, I need to go through the announce table, but I didn't know how to do it because all our announce equipment are on it, and we're not WWE money, so we couldn't afford new stuff. So Haley figured out a way to put another prop table there, and we worked out a way where PJ was able to knock me off. So like, this was I love this moment in the match because I think most people probably know since the title was on the line, chances are PJ wasn't winning the belt, but he could easily have beaten me by count out. So this was such a good false finish.
Yeah.
And I understand that CAW already have a huge following, but at this Foyle Rumble, maybe parents or new people who were coming to the show just to watch the Tune In project, did you get new fans off it?
Well, all the tuned in people became fans of CW if they didn't know what we were, and the families as well. Like I'm very proud of the connection of this show of tuned in CAW, and that we got to do this. It wasn't necessarily, and it was like our roster as well. We didn't have to go out and get like a bunch of special guys in or ringers or anything like that. Not that like everyone who wrestled on the show are total pros. But we did it with our crew, which I was very happy about. It was like my core crew and then the tuned in core crew. We came together. We didn't have to worry about like, oh, we should get in more experienced guys or anyone else. We did it ourselves.
And even in this match was absolutely incredible. Probably the best match of that night. You would actually think PJ was been wrestling for over 5 years. It was an incredible match.
Yeah, it was like Sean was saying that there was another YouTube channel that reviewed this match, and they were saying, "Oh, I wonder how many matches PJ had." And like at this stage, 0. Like this, he's halfway through a match when they made that comment. Look at him! I'm like, just look at him go. Hitting the moves well, showing the emotions, selling at the right time. But I was like PJ just listening, and here he goes. That's Meek. In that move, when I went to buckle bomb him, I go, PJ, you're gonna roll me up afterwards, okay? And PJ, mid wrestling match, as I'm hitting him really hard, goes, "Oh yeah, okay." In the nicest, politest voice, a wrestling opponent I've ever had says. But he listened, like all the training. He didn't like try to question, like, "Oh, can I not do a big flip here? Or can I not get this? Would it not be cool if I just like hit you?" And PJ did exactly what I asked him to do. Took on every bit of advice and criticism really well. Like was like sound to work with, no problem. Not scared and very understanding. If like, oh, this bit doesn't work, PJ, we need to change it, and just changes it there.
And Cambo, you know this too. There are naturals in this business. When you start training with somebody, and maybe PJ could perhaps be a natural himself. You do get guys that just take to it very, very quick. And if this is his first match, I would have to say that probably he is a natural at it.
Yeah, like PJ, you have like a kickboxing background, don't you?
Yeah, I've done kickboxing for nearly 2 years.
Yeah, so stuff like that helps. Like I did kickboxing jiu-jitsu before I started wrestling, and it helped me take to it. So that was me just using the PJ's pass, so like doing some spin kicks and some strikes as well, and he's taking a hit or two in kickboxing, so the chops are no problem to him. But no, PJ was a natural at this, and like I said, from that first sneaky tryout day, I had like my eye on PJ. I was like, he's the one that I think if I'm giving anyone like a proper 10 to 12 minute match, it's going to be PJ. Mm-hmm. But he still couldn't beat me.
Ah, well.
He doesn't tap out, Campbell.
He didn't tap out. He got a few good kicks in here.
And PJ, after the show, did you feel more confident in yourself?
I probably was.
You were walking about, loving yourself for a few weeks
Yeah,
there.
I was. I.
So is that PJ Danger? It was.
Very good. Very confident. Very.
How did you feel during the match, PJ? Like during the match, with the crowd going and me yelling and
Oh,
kicking?
it's probably one of the most insane show. Insane. Like I felt emotional and happy. Just
Do you remember it? Do you remember the match? Like as it was happening, kind of move by move.
yeah, I remember half of it.
Yeah, I was chatting to someone the last day, and they were talking about my debut. I don't remember it. Like it went well, but I just remember making my entrance, and it was a blank then afterwards.
Yeah.
It's just that hopped up on emotion.
Yeah, I know. It's like when you think back, sometimes it's just a blur of the match, right?
Yeah.
And even when I watch mine in video, it's like I can remember it there, but I can't like actually have actual memories in the ring. It's like kind of just a blur.
Yeah.
We got some comments here to get caught up with, and one I want to bring in right away because it kind of pertains to what we just seen. Jonathan McElroy says there were 2 occasions with close 3 counts where, for a split second, every single person in that room generally believed PJ was going to win. Just how hard is that to achieve in today's product?
It's like it's the challenge. Yeah, nowadays people like most wrestling fans are smart to certain cues in wrestling, so you have to try to set them up and trick them. So that's why like that table spot was in there, because I think most people, the smarter fans would think like, well, PJ's not going to become champion of a. If this is his first ever match, he's probably not going to become champion of a promotion.
Probably
But he
not.
could win by count, because then he can win but not win the belt. So that's why we put that in there. And then we needed to have things where I was the downfall in the moment. So rather than like PJ being the one to counter something, I go like, so say I went back for the buckle bomb. I have to establish that early on so that when I go for it the second time, I'm so angry and now I'm so unfocused on the match. That's when PJ is able to counter it.
Yeah.
And then schoolboy. So like, people are like, well, if he's going to beat a 13-year veteran, a schoolboy is the way it's going to happen. He's probably not going to like just attitude adjust him or something like that. So you guys think of those kind of moments. Jericho had a really good piece of advice. That if you're not winning the match, think of the way that you would have won the match if you were winning, and then use that as a false finish, and that's how you'll get people.
Yep, that's so true.
And then Darren says this earlier. He says, Cambo, is there any chance Keaton can make a cameo in the next Foyle Rumble, if there is one, in a TLC match and be put through a table? And he says, LOL.
The table's a yes, but we can't do TLC because of the roof, and we already damaged the chandelier, so I'm not going to risk. I'm not risking a ladder being put around there. I don't even know if the ladder will be set up.
New venue with big ceiling.
There we go. If we get a big ceiling, Keaton, you're booked.
Or do you guys have the like a low boy at all, or that you could get in there ring wise, so you don't have the ceiling issue? Shorter.
A smaller ring? No, I just have the one ring, and it's kind of like conventional. What is it? It's about 18 by 18. So
right.
No, we don't have a low one.
And then Rachi Roo, I think is how you say it, says it was a class event. Well done, everybody. When's Foyle Rumble 2? Which we talked about, but people are already asking again.
It's whenever me and Sean decide we don't want lives anymore. Like no social lives, no stress-free days.
2025 date TBC.
And when I was just watching that match, PJ, this was 2 hours in to the show, and you already had the crowd going wild. How did you do that?
Do what?
How did
you get the crowd wild?
How'd you get them going? Because they were 2 hours. They could have been tired by that point.
I don't know. Maybe because I kept in entertainment. Maybe because I'm famous already.
Well, your entrance was energetic. You were interacting with the fans as you came out there, which is one of the things you do as a face. And you got that going right away. That's what I noticed. And once you start that, it's like lighting a fuse, and it'll just keep going.
And I always like that spot where PJ took Cambo over to the crowd and just got whoever wanted to slap him. They slap him. So I enjoy that interaction as well.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And also realised that even the team behind the scenes in the Foyle Rumble was absolutely incredible. Like the commentators were incredible as well. So wasn't that Johnny McElroy and Nick Campbell that were commentating?
Yeah, that was actually Johnny McElroy's first show commentating because he was at that time he was normally our MC. Sean had a recommendation though for MC, so we went with that guy. So Johnny got moved over to be on commentary. So it was Johnny, PJ Stars, and Nick Campbell, and it was great. He was unreal. Like I listened back, and he texted me like a few days later. No, I didn't edit the show straight away. So he texted me as I was editing. He goes, "Any notes?" And I go, "Johnny, you're very good. Like I think this is the role you should be doing, not MCing." So we moved him over from MC onto commentary. So him and PJ are our regular commentators now.
And PJ, I realised when you're just talking about this, you're a wrestling fan, aren't you?
Yeah, well, pretty much a wrestling fan.
Yeah, so when you done that match, there must have been someone that inspired your style of wrestling the most.
Tough one. I would say The Rock
Rock.
or
Switch.
Roman Reigns, these two.
Yeah, that same kind of energy as well as The Rock and Roman Reigns and people like that.
Rock way, aye.
That would probably be there was a question earlier about did anybody not want to lose? No one didn't want to lose, but everybody wanted to do the spear on the show. I had to deny spears left, right, and center from people because Sergeant Slam got the spear, but everyone was like, I want to do the spear. So that was where the nose came in. Yeah, we acknowledge.
And then here's a comment from Jonathan right now. He says, I want the ring announcer at the next Rumble in a hardcore match.
Oh,
Campbell would love that.
If there's no microphones involved, okay.
And is there an embarrassing or funny story you can share from behind the scenes in one of the training sessions?
I don't think there was anything behind the scenes on the day of the show. I feel like there was something. What was the one? As part of the chandelier was one of the funny bits because we were so like, don't damage the building, and we did it in the before the first match had even started.
Yeah.
And
not really. No, the gymnastics facility we used getting attacked by a fire.
Yeah.
Leading up to it is probably the biggest one. I was like, are you for real? It just seems at that point I was like, oh my god, is this like an omen of to be like, don't do this show? Your training facilities nearly burnt down. But
did you have another place to go to at all or anything like that? I mean,
no,
was it down for a while or
that's another sort of obstacle we had to overcome. The Twisters gymnastics were fantastic with us. When I explained what we were doing, there's a couple other places I contacted at the same time, and they were like, oh, we need insurance, we need to do this, we need to do that, and they were panicking basically. But once that burnt down, I did contact other places, and they were like, no. And I was like, oh, okay, and that's when we turned it on. Campbell came and did the character day, and then it also sort of helped when Campbell couldn't make it. Then I would expand on his work from a character perspective and getting the promo videos done.
And for the next one, are you just going to stay at the City Hotel, or are you going to aim for a bigger venue?
We might be doing it somewhere else.
Oh, maybe.
I thought he was going to name a location. I'd be like, oh, shit.
I would like to do it at a bigger venue. The City Hotel was amazing, and I would happily do another one there. But I think the next one will sell more tickets, and Keaton has to fall off a ladder, so we need a
big venue.
Yeah.
The thing with big venues, though, you got to just make sure it's cost effective, right? Like,
yeah,
you can get a bigger venue, but if it's costing more to get it, is it working out in the end? You got to do that math, right?
Yeah, we're gonna. There's one place in particular in Derry that I'm going to talk with. When I say I'm going to talk with, I'm going to send Foyle up to talk to them because he can fair chat. And if we get that, then roof space is no issue. And there's about.
So don't worry about any chandeliers.
No chandeliers. There've been none.
Good.
But a good thing that didn't break or come down, huh?
A piece
when it got bumped,
but nothing was ever said about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Johnny McElroy did a great call on commentary. So when Noel McFury punched it and a piece fell down, Johnny McElroy on commentary was like, "The roof is already coming down with the people cheering." It was such a good call.
I remember we did a TV taping one time in this really low ceiling. We had electrical cords that had the light above the ring, and somebody did a slam and their foot caught it, and boom, and it sparked, and it looked like fireworks going off. And luckily, nobody was hurt. But yeah, you don't want to have those kind of things happening, right?
We were we'd not. Apart from that, the show I did a few hiccups with entrance music, and I was trying to but other than that, it went smoothly.
I mean, it really looked nice. I mean, it looked like a presentation. Like it was a production. It wasn't just a wrestling show. You know, like you had music, entrances, the Titan kind of Tron thing going. So you had like everything.
Yeah, that was Phil.
And a well planned show. You know,
Mick did that. Mick also works here. He's a sound engineer, and he came up with an idea which I thought was quite genius, where he put the speakers under the ring, which gave it a more fuller sound. And Rachel and Phil and Mick as well set up I was like, oh, can we only use one Titantron? Is there any chance we can get two in? And I like that I got to pass that off. And we will try and work this out. And I got what I asked for. It was great. It was a proper team effort all around, from Cambo, the wrestlers, his crew, the tuned in students and staff. Like, when I think about it now, the majority of the staff were involved, even in the choir segment, where they came up and sang. And the more I talk about it now, I'm getting all proud of it again.
And in the middle of any matches or training sessions, did anyone ever get badly injured?
No.
There was one guy, but it wasn't from training. Didn't he like break his foot or something?
Oh, Callum.
Yeah, he was going to be in this show, and then we had to pull him because he broke his foot or leg.
Yeah, but it didn't happen in training. It happened
outside,
and it was like a weekend or something.
Yeah,
he couldn't take part then, but he'll be one you'll see come around, Stephen, whenever we start.
But he was watching though.
He was there in the crowd, loving it.
Yeah, but no, I don't think there was any injuries.
No, there wasn't.
Training or at the show.
Other than picking thumbtacks out of backs and whatever.
Oh, orange pinky, but he was okay.
Pinky, yeah.
And Mags as well, who was the conductor on the show.
Yeah.
She had never done a head over heels or something before in her life, wasn't it? And Campbell was making her do them, so she loved that actually. So
the roles,
yeah, breaking boundaries at all ages.
Yeah, it was such a diverse crew as well. It wasn't like all young people. There was some older, like blind guy. Just everyone. This show had like no right to be as. This sounds very braggadocious because it was part of my show, but this show had no right to be as good as it was. Something should have gone wrong, or it should have been like, well, that was a 5 out of 10 or 7 out of 10. This was 10 out of 10. Like across the board, I think this show like banged all the way through.
Yeah.
And it was because me, Sean, but the crew as well. Like we had ideas, but we needed the tuned in guys to do the training, and they all did it, PJ included. We needed my crew to help keep it all going, and they did it. And then we needed the tuned in crew to do all the little bits backstage that you wouldn't think of, like the merchandise and setups and getting the videos, and like what Phil was doing and sourcing everything. So like, just like looking back on it, there was so many. It was like it was destiny. Like there were so many pieces that had to fall into perfect place, and they did. It was just spot on the night.
Yeah, like I know we sort of touched on it earlier, was like the wrestlers turned up on the day and we're only just meeting the students that they're going to do the segments with that day. And I have to give a shout out to every single one of them because they were so kind and nice and understanding, and was like, oh, we're going to do this. It's going to be amazing. And they were hyping the students up as well. And also, there's something I'm forgetting now, the wrestlers. I can't remember what I was going to say now.
the wrestlers were getting, I'll shout them out, like Pure Filth and Bobby Blaze, TJ Charles, who's unreal, Pyro Oren, and like all my usual wrestlers. Not one of them was frustrated, be like, oh, this is such a tough night for me to do. Not one of them complained or was like, oh, I'll get him through a match or acted Billy Big Boots or anything like that. They were all pros for the whole night.
Yeah. And I want to point out to everybody watching, and especially we get most of our views in replay anyway, just FYI. But as you're watching, if you want to see this whole show, I have the YouTube link below Cambo there. That's to their YouTube channel, and that's where you can see this entire show on his channel. It's about a little over 2 hours, and it's there to see. Just search for the Foyle Rumble, and it'll come right up on his channel there. So just want to make sure everybody knows that.
And will there be any students wrestling on the next show? Any new students?
I'm hoping there will be, but we're going to do. It won't be sneaky anymore. We're basically going to go. This is a tryout, and Campbell will be casting his eye over any of the new recruits, and it's really up to him then if any of them are up to the task. But hopefully we'll see a few new faces. I want to try and we have a couple of students who are on wheelchairs, and we're going to get creative and get them involved. So, I remember what I was going to say now. Phil, the project manager, said another proud thing for Cambo and everybody involved in. He said it was the most inclusive thing that Tuned In has ever done because we incorporated so many of the students in the one night type thing. So that was a big compliment from him.
And I bet that all of them were buzzing over this for weeks, if not months, right?
Oh, they still are. Crusher, they still are, especially Sergeant Slam and PJ as well, and Shay. Oh, every single one of them.
Sergeant Slam, isn't he the one in the training segment that did that big long running spear and training? Wasn't that him? Yeah. And I was thinking like, no, that's a spear.
You can see why I reserved it for him.
Yeah, I see that.
Actually, one wee thing that now that you remind me, we're talking about Sergeant Slam was when he speared. Why am I going blank
Killdozer?
Here? Killdozer. He was celebrating so much they walked backwards and tripped.
Yeah.
Like a sort of backwards reverse head over heels. That's the only thing that I went, I wish that didn't happen. But it's a small thing.
Yeah, it was right at the very end. There had to be something.
Yeah. But
And I'm sure parents and carers were delighted with the confidence in the students during and after the show, I'm guessing.
Oh, the feedback from the parents was great. PJ, your parents were front row, weren't they?
Yeah.
And what did they say?
They loved it. Like, they enjoyed it.
You could see them cheering, PJ on the front row, and everybody involved had someone related to them there in some fashion. All bought the T-shirts, give it stacks.
Speaking of PJs, so PJ, what do you want? Do you want Cambo again if you do this a royal
No idea.
Foyle Rumble 2, or would you want somebody new?
I have no idea. He's being shy because Cambo's on the.
I log off now. He's going to start talking smack.
No. Well, it's up to him. We'll see what on the day in the show.
Well, not to drop you on a PJ. Every week he comes in and goes, Sean, I want to do this move on Cambo next time, okay? You demonstrate moves on me. So
you take videos, PJ, and send them to me. But only on Sean. Thumbtacks.
But I have a few. I'm sure you have a few ideas, Campbell, as well. But we'll have a day of what can we do and how do you have to make it bigger and better, basically, don't you? That's the challenge. That's the extra stress this time.
Yeah, because this first show was done with the intention of let's do one big show. But now that it's gone so well, we have to do another one. In case we're trying to top that, and we didn't plan for that. That was probably the one thing we didn't plan for.
No, I didn't think ahead. I was like, the show's done, and then once everything died down, I was like, I would do another one. Not straight away, but I would definitely do another one. And as I say, the students loved it, and we're student-led here at Tuned In, so they want to do it, so we're going to do it.
I don't know when we're wrapping this up, but I'm in no rush. But I just want to say, Sean talked about this and Phil said it, and that was really nice to hear that it was one of the most inclusive things that Tuned In have done. And I want to say this to anyone that wants to get into wrestling. But if there's you think you have any challenges that things could stop you from wrestling, like this show should prove to you that nothing is impossible and that nobody shouldn't be able to wrestle. If we had a blind guy wrestling, we made Sergeant Slam like a star of the show just by doing a spear and wearing camo. Anyone can be involved in wrestling and have a big part in it. So, don't let anything hold you guys back.
Exactly.
And I can just echo that, you guys. I've talked to tons of people here in the United States and different organizations that have guys that they're artistic or whatever the case, and they are just as viable as any other guys in the business, especially in the indie scene. They're really making a dent. So the sky is the limit here. If you really want to get into this, and that's the absolute truth.
And did anyone tell you after the show that their kid had changed? Any parents?
Say it again, sorry.
Did anyone tell you after the show that maybe their kid had changed their
Oh, like
confidence or anything
more.
after the show?
It was just basically they all loved it, and for a while there was, uh, what do you call him? Shane, who was Hades Havoc. His mommy actually said he keeps practicing the wrestling moves on me. It was okay when he was younger, but he's a grown man now. Like, I imagined him going home and he was like, "I'm just demonstrating. I just want to get the punches right." And I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm just going up to my mommy and just doing the stuff that
his
Cambo taught."
punches were good though.
Yeah.
He had
Well,
good punches.
practice hard at home,
Thanks to the mom.
But they were just on a high about it for weeks, and as I say, some of them still really are on it.
Yeah,
Like you.
exactly.
And Cambo, for a young trainee trying to start out in wrestling, advice would you give them?
Just start is the main thing. I wish I started sooner, but it was a case. There was just a day, and where I was like, "No, this is it. I just got to do it." And I just sent an email off, and I went to Dublin, which is 4 hours away from me, to meet people I had never met before, and spend a weekend with them at a wrestling convention. And like, you'll never be ready. So if you're ever like I've met people who are like, "Oh, I'll get into wrestling. Well, I want to get in a better shape first, or I'll do it when like work dies." You'll never, ever, ever be ready to start wrestling. So just start wrestling. It's such a learn on the job type business. It's a business where you have to mess up and then learn from that, and just make sure you don't repeat those mistakes again. So the best advice I can say is just do it, and dive deep in as well. Like my first day, I was ring announcing. My second day, I was refereeing. And it was I wouldn't do that as a promoter, but looking back on it, I was like, that made me who I am. So just get stuck in deep to it pretty much, and just like lose yourself to wrestling.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear that, Cambo. You're preaching to the choir, because that's what I've always told Keaton too. You learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
Plan on failing, because it's going to happen, but just don't learn from it and move on, move forward. That's how you get better.
Exactly, yeah. Any lesson, like I run a training school as well. Any like smart piece of advice I give, we're like, "Oh, Campbell's very smart." It's because I've made that mistake. So I was very dumb at one point. I made lots of mistakes and was very bad. But once you make the mistakes, you gotta learn from them. Just accept them as a lesson, and then don't make them again. It's pretty much what you're trying to do.
Yeah, don't make Keaton. I think we've talked about this, but don't make that mistake of thinking you have to be absolutely perfect out of the gate and that you're never going to fail. Then you start worrying about it too much, and it's too much on your mind. You got to let that go and just go with what you know, and just learn and grow.
So that means we can put Keaton through more than one table then. He has to learn.
That's when he makes the mistake and he won't do it again.
Now that I'd like to see.
5 or 6 tables.
And Sean, for just a kind of training project, are you full with students?
Yeah, we're packed out with the students. We've a lot of them come like different days. Some come 5, some come 2, some come 3. But we're packed and busy, and we're in the midst now of having to do a Christmas. They want to do a Christmas comedy chat show, so that's what my focus on in the next few weeks. We did again once they do a project that they like. We did one last year. It's the BBC show, The One Show.
The Wham Show.
So they did a comedy take on it called The Wan Show. And they loved it so much last Christmas. This year, they're like, "Can we do that again?" So that's another example of, okay, right, you've done something that you liked. Well, let's do a sequel. So
well, I hate to bring this comment in, guys. This might be too much for the next show, but Jonathan says, if you're doing another show, then you got to do what hasn't been done in the North. Get the steel cage.
Oh, God.
I asked Steve about that.
The steel cage.
I asked Campbell about that.
How are we going to get that?
Steel cage is my new thumbtacks.
There's not been is this correct though? No cage matches yet in the North?
OTT did one in Dublin, but yeah, I don't think one's happened.
No.
I can think of another steel cage match besides OTT one, unless WWE did a sneaky one somewhere on a house show.
back in the day, we were going to do a whole show of cage matches 20 years before Dusty thought of it. But the reason we didn't, and I don't know if it's still the case, but I didn't realize how expensive it is to build a cage. It's not cheap.
It's the setting it up as well. I did ring
Yeah.
crew once for TNA when they were in Dublin, and it's not like in WWE when they can lower the cage. So at intermission, we had
Yeah, you got to like set the panels up. And
10 minutes to get it set up. It was a real. So and that was like with a proper professional crew, and then a few extras mixed in helping. So I don't really know, Sean, if we've got the budget for a steel cage, but
If it's never been done in the north before, then you need to take that box off. And I think, would Pyro not want to build one?
don't. He might. He might.
It's really the problem. Like I'm sure it hasn't gotten any cheaper. It's just it's more expensive than you would think.
Yeah, I think steel's pretty much all-time high.
Steel cage, Cambo, PJ2.
Oh god. No, in a steel cage.
Obviously, when you think of the big wrestling attractions match wise, that did cross my head for the first one, but Campbell quickly talked me down because I was like, it makes sense. It's
we gotta save something
for a first show.
Yeah.
That's when I pivoted the thumbtacks.
I tell you what, guys, we're getting towards the end of the show. Keaton, do we have any last minute questions that you want to get in here before we sign off?
Yeah, well, before we sign off, I just have to ask one very important question. What's next for the Tuned In project and Cambo Cray?
Sean, you want to go first? Or is this, Sean, what's the Tuned In project up to? And then I'll say.
Well, my project, as I was saying, I'm focused on doing Christmas comedy videos.
Yeah.
The other tutors, they're preparing choir shows to take out the schools. There's puppet shows being created where all the students are building their own puppets. There's crafts. They build their own crafts and have their own shop. We do loads. It's so hard to list off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But our focus is Christmas and the madness of that. And then January comes. That's when me and Campbell will start getting our heads on again and seeing what we can come up with.
Yeah. And then as for me, like we've pretty much wrapped up our CAW season. So it's a case of just planning for next year, getting our dates in order and thinking of ideas. So I've got my own stuff going on with CAW. So yeah, we'll get chatting to Sean then in January and figure out when Foyle Rumble 2 is happening.
Well, I tell you something. If you guys get something going, we definitely should have him back, Keaton, before the event. To help what we can do here. To help get the word out. But and so. Well, thanks a lot, guys. It's been fascinating learning about all this. And PJ, good job. I mean, that was the first time I actually watched the whole match, so it was great. And Cambo, best of luck too with you with everything going on. And like you said, you got your own stuff going on as well. So
just getting stuck in the CAW again and going on to our third year.
Sure. And so taking time out for us, we really appreciate it. And thanks for joining us, guys.
Well, thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Fascinating, Keaton. Fascinating interview there. Once again, you have come up with some excellent guests here. This is I knew this was going to be a fun one just because of the scope of this project. Hearing about all this, what you were telling me and the little bit I seen before I put the matches together. But fascinating stuff. I'm kind of shocked you weren't there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I didn't even know what was going on. I think it was after I saw that it was on BBC News, and that's when I found out what Tuned In project were.
Yeah, so you didn't. I bet you would have been there though had you known about it, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Well, let's talk a little bit about what we got coming up on our next shows. As we always do. So, what do we got next, Keaton? What is next? Is it Rewind? Yeah, I think I got Rewind next. But it's not going to be for a few weeks. So this is what we got coming up on NWF Rewind. Studio taping 98, December 12th. I'm taking a week off here because I'm moving, Keaton. I don't know if I told you. Yeah, so December 12th from Dayton Pole Barn. A great place for TV tapings. That's what we used it for. And this was a fun show. Slick Steenerson in there, a young Steenerson anyway, with me. And Dixie Dave will be with me on that one, so I'm looking forward for our next Rewind. Dave trying to play a heel, like trying to take a page out of Ricky Henry's book. Canary
Oh
Kid.
no.
Yeah, he's thinking he's a heel now too. So this, I don't know what it is. Dave's this thing with Ricky being a heel with me. We're gonna maybe have Ben Nelson coming on soon, and Ben is
Right.
on my side. So and Dave is on Ricky's side. Why does the people from our own organizations root against us? I don't get it.
That'd be a good tag team match. Ben Nelson and Crossen versus Canary Kid and Dixie Dave.
Well, I would take Ben. I'd certainly take Ben. I can't wait till we get him on with me and Ricky. That'll be a fun show. And then I know you got a show coming up tomorrow. I don't have a graphic for it, but you got talk a little bit what you got coming on tomorrow.
So we've got coming on Micro Wrestling's I've Run the Micro and Melissa. Also, another big announcement that I found out yesterday, the biggest Micro Wrestler, Andrew the Giant. He's a very massive guy. He's only quite new to wrestling, but I've Run the Micro, Melissa and Andrew the Giant will be joining us. Who are all Micro Wrestlers. I've Run the Micro, who's recognised as the voice of Micro Wrestling, a company that's been blowing up lately across the internet. So we're going to have him coming on.
That's awesome. And this is going to be Keaton's first solo show. He's going to do it without me this time, guys. I got, like I said, I'm moving and I got all sorts of stuff going on. So I can't be there for that one. So Keaton, you're going to have to drive the ship here and we'll see, right? I think you'll be fine though. You've done this enough with me. You know the drill. I do have, let me see, is this, oh, this is what we had. So I have so I was going to say, I only have that graphic. I don't have the new graphic for tomorrow or anything. I don't have a graphic to show. So, and I was going to say our next forward show with Ricky Henry, the Canary Kid. Like I said, I don't know for sure we're talking about Ben, but the only graphic I can show Keaton is the graphic I showed Ricky. It'll be me and him. And Ricky, he doesn't like this graphic, but I like it. So wouldn't that be something if that match could ever take place?
Hopefully it would.
Well, it wouldn't be like this anymore. That was me a long time ago. But yeah, it would still be fun. Well, maybe you can convince this Canary Kid to get out of the fear shed.
I don't know if anyone could convince him to get out of fear.
Well, when you're in training session with him, just give him an arm, give him a hook or something in the back there. Give him just give him like a wrist lock or something, and put a little extra pressure on for me. You can do that, right?
I could do that, but I don't know if that would. Again, I don't know if that would work. The birdie's always flying away.
That's true. You have to catch them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a fascinating show. Great guests. Going to be a good one. And I think the next one with you and I isn't going to be until, gosh, we won't be on again until maybe in December, I think.
Yeah,
maybe have a December
late
show?
December.
Late December, so. Yeah.
Maybe late December, early January.
Yeah, early January. So, all right. Well, it's been a great show. And thanks for everybody for tuning in with us. And we will see you guys. I'll be on in a couple weeks with Dixie Dave. And then Ricky and I will be on again with Forward on December 20th, I believe. Will be when I be back with Ricky again on Forward. So, all right. Sounds good. Thanks for tuning in, guys.